Hi there, my name's Ben, and today we are going to tackle another question. Is creativity overrated? Now, again, I have a tendency to immediately want to answer these with a short yes or no, mainly because, again, like I said in a couple of my previous videos, sometimes I still think of things in very black and white, but taking my own advice, the first thing to do is to approach the question and let's break it down and see if we can't answer it a little bit more thoroughly than just a yes or no. Is creativity overrated? So firstly, what does it take to be creative? There are some people who say that it's more temperamental. And again, a creative process would be, for example, it doesn't necessarily have to be, sculpting a piece of marble or painting a Picasso or something, or writing a poem or a book. And a lot of us have a tendency to think this way. And a lot of people are actually creative and artistic without even knowing it. For example, even just talking out an idea, taking those different data points and trying to build logic with them, or build a sound argument. That in and of itself is a creative thing. You're creating an argument. You're creating an idea. Not to mention as well, you could even extend it further. You can look at it in something like you're building something. Architecturally speaking, not just in the design aspect, but think of it right down to, let's say if you're building a new skyscraper, for example. Think about how you have to mix the concrete exactly right. That's technically a creative process. Or if you have to shape your rebar in a specific way in order to make it fit around the corner or what have you, that's also the creative process. We don't tend to realize how creative we actually are, because most of the stuff we think of is just, oh, well, how can this be creative? It doesn't have anything to do with a form of art. And I think that's where a lot of people sort of get confused. I know that's where I got confused initially, up until very, very recently, that I didn't necessarily consider, let's say, myself when I'm thinking and I'm unpacking an idea or trying to create a new argument. I didn't necessarily think of that as creative, but it turns out it is. And it makes a lot of sense when you think of it that way. Now, that brings us to our next question. Is everybody a creative? I would have to say no, I don't think so. I think there are people who are more suited to be creative, just temperamentally speaking. But as far as does everybody have a creative temperament? No, I don't think so. However, everybody can be creative. Everybody can create something, right? It doesn't matter if it's a new meal, if it's, when you're composing a text to somebody, everyone's creating all the time, but it depends on to what degree. Now, if we say, okay, yes, I'm creating a text message and stuff, does that necessarily mean that, okay, I'm the one who, this is like some sort of brand new thing? No, it doesn't. In that case, being creative would be reproducing something. You're producing something, you're not creating something. So we have to make the distinction between producing something and creating something. What is that difference? And producing something would be something akin to, okay, if you have a set blueprint on how to do something, right? So, for example, this pen, right? It's a standard zebra, 0.7 millimeter ballpoint pen, right? Now, the people who, let's say the factory that works and produces these, they don't create the pens, they produce them, right? So they produce the different little components and whatever, but however, somebody had to create the design of this pen. Somebody had to create the springs, the system for the spring, or the chemical composition for the ink, and so on and so forth, or the ballpoint tip. Somebody had to create that. Somebody had to invent it. So I think that in this sort of a sense, creation and invention are closer synonyms than creation and production. Now, can everyone create? Yes. Technically, everybody can create, but more people tend to produce than they do create. I think this is where we sort of come in to answering our question as to whether or not creativity is overrated, because maybe people have a tendency to think creativity as not just being artistic and whatever, but sometimes they may think, and like I said, I thought this very recently, even in the video, I speak more along the lines of like creativity is production, right? Whereas I will walk back my previous statement when I said, let's say if you're cutting rebar to fit the specifications for your building, yeah, you're technically producing something, right? Like production is a subset of creation, but it's not exactly creation, right? Design is more of a creation thing. Unpacking an idea is more of a creation thing. Making a new recipe for food, that is a type of creation. So I would think that the word creative and creativity, it has a certain degree of it comes attached with authenticity, originality, and inspiration, which I think is, again, it's valid. So it's not as simple as just producing something, say, hey, look at this, look at me, I created it. No, you produced it, yes. But when I say that everybody can create something, everybody can create ideas in their own head. Everybody can create a world for themselves. Everyone has that power. That's the beautiful part about humanity. So I think that everyone can create. Does everybody choose to? No, because it's difficult. And for that reason, like a couple of other videos that I made previously, I think that creativity is not overrated. I think it's underrated. I think it's underrated because, again, there are very, very few people who want to truly live creatively and want to create, and they end up either giving up or failing and getting discouraged, or they're only in it for, not for the sake of creating the thing, not for the exercise, but they're in it to make money, they're in it to do whatever, and I mean, go for it, make your money. But if we're talking on a more esoteric level, being creative for creativity's sake is very, very important, because it's the exercise it's an exercise in novelty, a genesis of something new. And I think it's almost, this is where I get wacky, so forgive me. It's almost as though it simulates childbirth. When you're creating something, you're creating new life. Nietzsche has a quote that I'll paraphrase terribly, unfortunately, and that is, creating a piece of music and putting it out into the world is very much akin to having a child. And it is. I mean, it's something that you've created this piece of music, much like you've created this new human being. You're putting it out into the world for people to listen to, Like, they will listen to this new human being, whether or not they cry or they speak or whatever else, but somebody will listen to him or her. And so that's why I understand where Nietzsche gets in with this whole, like, creating a piece of music is much akin to having a child. So I think that the reason why creativity is so prized and the act itself is so important, it does sort of like, it does have that simulation of childbirth, that sense of wonder that you get when you create something, that pride that you feel when you've created something new. And I think it's really, really important. And that's why I think it's massively underrated. So we'll end it there. But I'll ask you, do you think that creativity is overrated? Are you creative yourself? If so, share your experience. What do you like to create? And I would say on that note, everyone should strive to create something, because it does provide us a method of transcending our human physical experience without the need for a, tyrannical, sinister God above us. Sorry, this is my little atheist plug. But in any event, if you're interested and want to answer the question, please let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to take up a discussion. And once again, thank you so much for watching.